Every person on this stage came to Israel or as the child of Olim, and they have turned that journey into an opportunity to build, lead, and give back. Our first panel is going to explore how Olim are driving Israel's economy through innovation, entrepreneurship, technology, public leadership, and business, helping position Israel as one of the world's leading centers of creativity and growth. So I'm very happy to introduce our panelists. Jonathan Karten, Principal of AWC Ventures and Israel Economic Expert. Shiri Offhauser, the Senior AI Cyber Alliances Lead at NVIDIA. And Jonny, Caplan, CEO of Tech Talk Media. So, we all have microphones? He doesn't.
I have a loud voice. I can do.
Yeah. Sure, that's fine. So I'll start on my left, Jonathan. What brought you to Israel, and why did you decide to build your career here?
First of all, thank you.
I brought you.
Yeah, we're good. First of all, thanks like Kerem House and Nefesh came all together. It's an honor to be here. I came here circa 2013. It's a bit of a sad story, but everything sort of worked out of me. Fortunately, my uncle was kidnapped when I was younger. I was tortured for about 7 months and killed, and we had come back originally to find the body, and then we started going back every year for the years to go on. Eventually, I fell in love with the country. I fell in love with the people, with the culture. I felt like this was home. And so when I was 18, I decided to come and serve in 2014. Then there was Feygin. I got injured, moved back into intelligence. And when I left my service as an intelligence officer, I decided to finish with my time here in Israel and go back and man planned and God laughs, because about 10 years later, I got called back on October 7th and decided to sell my company, and we kind of put down roots and make a little nest here. So since then.
Thank you. And just before I continue, let's please give a very quick let's see when we want to do our remaining celebrating. We can do the famous after, guys. Shira, my next question is for you. You grew up in an Olim family. How did that shape your identity and your career? That's an interesting one. I think maybe it relates a lot to what I do now. So I'm leading cybersecurity alliances for NVIDIA. And I think that maybe just bringing together different worlds or different cultures. So my job requires often I work with cybersecurity software vendors, including very big global companies that have like footprint in Israel, like Palo, CrowdStrike, but also smaller cybersecurity startups. And the way you interact with them or understand what is the value and what it can do together is something that is about, getting to a room, rating the people, understanding what is important to them. I feel like this is something that definitely, I saw my dad use of it. So I saw him doing and started adapting into the situation. I would say that. Thank you. Jonny, next question is for you. We were talking about this earlier before the panel. You have delved into AI technologies. What opportunities in high tech and beyond should Olim be paying attention to today?
If you're not using AI today, then you are behind the game already. So you can make excuses to say maybe it's going to take your job, or it's scary, or I don't know what the future is going to be. But the truth is, there's technology in front of you that really is free to use on a basic level. And it can accelerate the sorts of things you want to do. You want to tell stories, you want to, share dancing, you want to write poetry. Anything you want to do is really capable in front of you. And other people are using it today, and they are running ahead at the speed of light. So if you're not using it today, I encourage you to look at a video, look at some social media, learn something about a platform, a different thing that you didn't know about. Go and try it. Be very careful, make sure it's a trustworthy site. Don't give it your private bank details. But if you're not using AI today in some form, whatever your business that you're in, you are already behind the game, and you should just try to learn something new. Try something you haven't learned before, a different skill, because the future is heavily loaded by AI technology.
So now, actually, I want to build on what you just said with opening this up to all three of you. How do you use AI in your current jobs, whatever you do? You just expand on what you do and how AI is involved.
Sure. Let me continue. Yeah, if that's okay. Well, so I made a show called The Rise of AI. That's why she's asking me that question. And it was like 8 years ago, and it was much before everybody was really caring about it. And at the time, I thought, wow, sounds like science fiction, but like, how much of it am I actually going to use? And over that time, I started to use 5%, 6%, 8%. I could say today, since I've been sitting in this room, I probably talked to my AI agent more than anybody that was in the room was. I'm sorry about that. It's like I'm a workaholic, but the agent is working away and I'm interacting with it. We use today in our film and television production somewhere between 50 to 70% AI technology, which is just incredible. But it's become such an ability to move at the speed of light. I can't express that. No, that we're using it very heavily today.
I would build on what you said, that basically we always say that you will not be replaced by AI, you will be replaced by someone using AI. So I fully agree that this spans across every industry and every role. And for me, I would say it's frozen. Like, I had to do this cyber access system that we usually just put into slide, and I simply build one topic when how it's called. I was a developer a long time ago, but I wasn't able to do this today if I had to. Every email I need to write, it's actually funny, a cultural thing. I have this agent that I built that is sort of Horror of America, I call it, that basically translate whatever I needed. I stayed in like in one sentence what I basically want to write, and then he just put it out there, more of like a suggestion, and how can we work on this together, and in a way that would be nicer, I guess, to other people and across the different regions.
So I use it twofold, as a consumer and as an investor as well. As a consumer, I'll use Gumloop to automate workflows, to web scraping research for it in real time. But as an investor, specifically, Oz looks at gaps and necessities in the intelligence agencies, and we'll get a request, an RFP from XYZ agency, and we'll actually look for the company that will mostly satisfy it or build it if it's not already existing. And we'll invest fairly heavily from the early stage level to see if that can then not only fit the Homeland Security Department needs, but also the civilian sector as well. So we invest heavily in artificial intelligence and populating computing and photonics as well.
Can I just give a couple of tools that people might use, just because that was a great idea you did there, right? But let me give you a couple of trustworthy ones that I use. There's one called Figma, Figma. Figma is like if you want to create a presentation or a proposal for someone or a website, and you might have done it in Canva before, PowerPoint. You go to Figma and you might have gone into ChatGPT or something you talk to and say, I come up with an idea, blah, 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 I want to make a presentation. It gives you all the information. You take it and you just rub it in Figma. Figma will make that thing for you in about 3 minutes. And you'll be like, oh, the whole thing's done. And it would take weeks before you pay a company to do all that stuff. And it's so intelligent. You just talk to it. So I don't like this bit. Can you delete this page? Can you do that? And it's beep, 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 beep. And it does it. And you publish it. Very amazing. The other one is, I guess, Twitter's AI. Not many people use it. It's called Grok, G-R-O-K. If you're talking to ChatGPT or Gemini, try Grok. Go over to another one and talk to it, the free model, and just ask it some questions and see the difference. Each one is plugged with different information, connected to a different source, different data. Some of them are totally, bonkers, and they're wrong sometimes, but there is a lot of amazing information at your fingertips.
Thank you for that. I'm going to go back to more personal questions now. Shira, this one's for you. So you're helping lead AI partnerships at NVIDIA. Can you explain or elaborate on how Israel has become such a global innovation hub? So for cyber, there are two reasons I will say, and one of them applies maybe across the board. I feel like in Israel, people have to move very fast, and they're really good at moving fast. And when we're talking about the AI speed and machine speed, this is even more. But it's just taking what you have. I feel like oftentimes then when I talk to entrepreneurs in other countries, people are waiting for the right time to have the best circumstances, And it's never at the right time and it's never the best circumstances. And I feel like in Israel, people are just moving forward really fast. They are also, one may say blunt, I don't know if I say direct, but people also say what they want and what they need in a way that makes things move faster. Obviously, there is a downside to it, but the whole feedback loop, also getting validation if you're talking about like your new idea or your new company. And people have this urge of building their own thing. So obviously, there are a lot of R&D centers of the biggest corporates in the world, and you still see that in terms of entrepreneurship hub. And I just talked to someone before, I don't remember. I said, I don't know if you know that, but 35 cents of each dollar in investment in cyber goes to Israel, which is insane. And specifically for cybersecurity, I also think there is a lot of talent and human intelligence coming from the army, especially around like vulnerability research. So I would say it's that combination of some talent and experience that people get in a certain unit in the army, and just again being able to move fast, break things, be direct, and push for what you want.
I think it's also important to note that the future of the Israeli economy will be built on AI infrastructure. You'll correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason why Japan and NATO, United States are spending billions of dollars annually on Taiwan's security is not because of the Taiwanese citizens, it's because of TSMC. And the push for critical infrastructure of this country is an economic one, although it is as well. It's a national security push. So the country that develops the cutting edge 3,5 gallium nitrate semiconductors or photonic conductors or the most optimized transistor chip is essentially the country that will have a more market share in the future of the geopolitical economy that we're going in the next 10 to 20 years. It's akin to owning or creating all the coal during the Industrial Revolution. So it's...
Or nuclear.
Or nuclear.
Nuclear.
Completely. So at the end of the day, if we have additional isolation because of lack of tourism, which is really only 1% of GDP, or if we have less foreign direct investment, will still be a necessity and an essential partner and also player of the world's economy. And that's where I think they have a big push from the Israeli government and other areas, specifically in critical infrastructure and AI supply chain.
So my next question is for you, Jonathan. We know you're a soldier. Following the war in Gaza, the current war in Lebanon, and this ongoing strategic battle with Iran, Israel's economy has shown incredible resilience. Can you just explain what you think makes it so unique?
So that's a great question. It's true since October 7th, case has increased 80%. You have an increase in the GDP per capita. I think now since the 70s, it's about 52-fold. Now, reference, the population increase has been 3.3 billion in the 70s to 10 million, but the GDP, the gross domestic product increase has been 52-fold. So that it looks on its face as a beautiful, against the grid miracle that shouldn't have happened. But if you look at the rates of GDP relative to the increase in the interest expense the government has to pay on an annual basis, today it's roughly 25%, it's roughly 1/4. If you look at the ratio of debt to GDP as well, it's gone down roughly 6%. So at the end of the day, although right now it's fairly stable, we have a 2% population growth annual basis, which means there's a small city in Israel being made every year or so. And at that rate, if you don't start to shift our economy, not just from an agricultural, defense-based B2B SaaS backbone, but to a real essential market, we won't necessarily see the same returns that we've had when we first privatized the entire economy. I'm not sure if you know this, but Israel was a mostly nationalized economy, and the big push that came from emerging markets. So GDP per capita growth is a combination of capital accumulation and technology. We've enjoyed both of the factors, which make it look as if today we're the sixth largest economy GDP per capita. We're I think 17 GDP total. And it's amazing. We've beaten Britain GDP per capita, we've beaten Canada GDP per capita, but this is stagnation in the long term. And if we manage to replace our economy and start shifting our GDP more focused on critical infrastructure, in my opinion, from the startup nation to the infrastructure initiative.
it's interesting. Like coming obviously it's the best things that they come from NVIDIA, right? Data centers, but I think that there's more to it. So again, I feel like we were building upon the of like HV SaaS or like cybersecurity, and I'm not sure we necessarily have to be the first when it comes to infrastructure. I do think, however, when it comes to AI, and I want everyone here to be optimistic, but we are not the leaders. And this actually comes more from the perspective of academia. In the end, like the best, like the countries that have the best models, and it's not necessarily the US this time, countries that have like the great researchers, and we're investing a lot of time into academic institutions. Unfortunately, I don't feel like that was a priority in Israel. Which again, I'm moving past like the downside of it. And I think that even when it comes to infrastructure, you don't necessarily have to be in that layer of building that you can be, and there are a few companies in Israel doing that, or let's say the data layer like Best Data and others. But you can also be, again, coming from cyber, so securing it. This is a huge opportunity, right? If you think of like the cloud security era, the AI security era is like, I think Gartner is saying it's about a $40 billion opportunity in a few years. And everyone in Israel are, chasing this, wanting to be the next Swiss for it's time for AI security. So I think it's also fair to identify that some things, and especially like heavy lifting of data factor and data centers and AI factories is very expensive. We're not necessarily also well positioned in terms of Israel to be able to afford ourselves these. We've been historically really good at taking using small and moving that. So I think we really need to think of like what we add on and what are the layers that we can give in order to be part of that.
I agree completely. The secondary and tertiary effects will enjoy for more than just being a powerhouse. That being said, if we're able to specialize the type of production we're making, then we still remain relevant. We don't have to be TSMC, but right now there's a project down in Ashkelon I'm not sure familiar with, but I'm using 22 now, but if it is successful according to most projections, will make us the fourth largest producer of a specific type of semiconductor that is more, it's called a 3-5 compounded chips, which will make us more specialized and in that way more needed. Now, when we ever get to the capacity, we'll be able to produce the sheer amount as Taiwan. I don't think given the time that we have and the population size that we have, especially like labor force that we have, that we'll be able to do it. But will be a necessary component of the supply chain. That's what we need to do in order to remain geopolitically relevant.
So I believe it's actually a combination of everything they're saying. I think the future, what we'll see is self-sufficiency. So what we're moving at the moment is take our military dependency on the USA to having our self-dependency with our military capabilities, our defense budgets, and all of our budgets, really. And so the future is a combination of this. If we heavily put all of our resources into AI, supercomputing will come out and it will take over AI, and then all of a sudden there'll be another new, three generations away from now. So a lot of these things they're saying are correct. That's why we're building our own semiconductor factory so that we have self-sufficiency. If the Far East doesn't want to supply us with the technology for the AI to work, we can do it ourselves. It's not that we have to be the market leader for semiconductors in the world, but we have to have good enough semiconductors. We can run our own AI, we can run our own services, we can generate revenues, we can export, whatever we decide it is, but we can run and we can do that independently. I see the future is having a combination of all of these technologies, being fairly good at a lot of different emerging technologies and making sure that we have our finger on the pulse at all times. We don't have the fortune to go to sleep and say, we've got it, that's it, retirement. We have to keep looking at it. We have to keep innovating. We have to keep doing all of these things, being experts at all of these things, unfortunately, because otherwise we'll be dependent on another nation, another culture, somebody else that might shut the door at some point. We might not have access to that, but we have to, in order for our own survival, be in charge of our own destiny.
To Jonny's point, and forgive me for monopolizing the conversation, majority of, let's say, for example, fish, even a regular staple product, 95% comes from Cyprus and Turkey, luck and mush specifically. Same can be said for household staples like oil. We produce a lot domestically, but a majority is imported. If tomorrow Erdogan decides to close the spigot, thank you, that'll lead to a rise in domestic consumer products at a time where we're already in some sort of economic uncertainty, and there's a lot of political internal strife within the different societies in Israel. It's like adding fuel to the fire. So obviously, I want everyone to leave here optimistically, but to your point, if we don't create blue and white or independent, critical, not just infrastructure, but products or services, then we can no longer be completely sufficient.
We have the technology, we have AI, we have 3D printing, all these things. We do a lot more.
It's kind of question clear though about that, because I'm feeling if the end, you ideally, yes, we want to be self-sufficient and do everything on our own. In the end, when I look at Israel, which is still a tiny country, and again, I'm all into specialization. So I think there are some things we do really well, some things we're not, whether we don't have the talent, we don't have, the natural resources or whatever. And I do think that this approach of and it's maybe like a small customer, like we need to do everything ourselves because tomorrow the doors will be shut. It's actually not within the other important thing, and I'm sure a lot of people active in that space is, making sure that we are speaking to in the end, we're not needs to depend on the rest of the countries, and especially again coming, I feel like again going to AI, where being super honest, we weren't the best to begin, and we do have gaps that they're would be hard to overcome. I feel like again us focusing on what we do really, really well, which is again messaging for everyone in general, that would be better than trying to say, okay, we are making our own oil, our own infrastructure, our own everything. It's just not visible.
So I think it's just understanding it's a common of those things, right? Again, so we have to be cultured, we have to work with other countries, but we have to be self-sufficient. We also had COVID, the borders were shut beyond people's control. So it's not a conspiracy theorist. The geopolitical situation was changing, and we're not always in control of that. So we absolutely have to work and be open with everybody. But at the same time, in disaster and emergency and in all these situations, we all have to be capable of our own survival. We all have to do that ourselves, right? You have to have stuff in the mamad, right? You have to make sure you have food and cans of drink and a go-to bag for yourself, as well as the government ensuring that they have things to the hospitals. So I think everybody's right.
Really quickly, I'm going to let you respond. I'm just going to circle the conversation back around to more Olim center topics. So just there you go.
Yeah. I agree with you that we cannot do everything independently. And I also agree with you that it's important to create some independent specialties. But if you look at Europe after the Marshall Plan, it was the country completely in tatters. And within 4 to 5 years, you had the creation of a new currency. You had the creation of a new organic international body in the European Union. You had countries that were fighting against each other for close to the better half of the millennia, actually needing each other. So if we look at, for example, the export of iron ore, and the desalination and distribution of iron ore, you had to have a Germany and an England working side by side, because now I can no longer fight you. I actually need you for my own progress. So creating cross-cultural competencies and bilateral trade is incredibly important. But it needs to be such that we own the particular, whether product or service, and that into other country that needs us still remains reliant on us. So we always do every aspect of the supply chain. I don't think it's possible given our side. But can we own an entire silo of the supply chain? I think it's necessary to do so, be the best at, whether it's, for semiconductors or creating a better version of ethos in your industry. Still, though, I just think that to a degree, it's uphill with such demo. Work and be open to bilateral trade and to cross-cultural competencies, but also at the same time, make sure that you have your own domain completely in check as well.
If you'd like to hear more about this, just ask them after. Thanks. So, sir, more.
And the video is leading this, by the way.
Circling back to more Olim topics, this question is mostly for Shira, but I would like to hear both of your opinions as well. What advice would you give to Olim hoping to enter the tech sector? The first thing I would say is actually know your word. So I'm meeting a lot of Olim and talking to a lot of people, and oftentimes the conversation just starts with, I don't know Hebrew, I have done something which is in life, but not really what they're, and sort of, and I totally get it. It's part of, I guess, a defense mechanism or a way to brace yourself, or not to be like not to feel sad or if something goes wrong. But I think overall, just come with confidence that you have something valuable to contribute. Yes, most of you, it really depends, but either done something really great where you came from, or either the mere fact that you have another language and that perspective of a different culture is already really, really valuable. And I think also just that, again, the fact that you came to a new country and was able to build yourself a new life, that requires so much effort. I'm thinking of myself, I've never done this, and even moving, let's say, to a new city, or finding, surrounding yourself with friends and building yourself a life is just so difficult, and it already says so much about you. So come confident and thinking that you have a lot to contribute. The other thing I would say is be open to not necessarily start where you stopped. So maybe the first position wouldn't be the dream job that you always wanted. It takes time, and this maybe brings me to Shiri. Israel is not, I don't like when people say it's like very like in Cyberpunk or even in cyber, which is sort of, I come from a Haredi house, so I wasn't in the Armenian intelligence unit, and I knew cyber. And every time I'm on a meeting or in call, it goes around like in circle. I was in Al Qatasha, I was in Shimon Echad, I was in Shimon Echad, and then I'm like, and I'm Shiri, and I didn't go to like Union at all. And I'm also the only woman there. And I've been doing this also from Microsoft and now for NVIDIA. And I'm just saying that obviously connections are important. And I wanted to say nurture and cultivate these and meet people not only when you need them. Rarely people would not be like, I have a 9-month-old baby and I'm very busy with work, and still if someone wants to meet me for a coffee or if I can do coffee, then at least for a Teams or a Zoom call, I'm always happy to help and support and being help. And I will make connections and help them find, a position, or even connect out to the next person, right? And so they have a conversation with me, and I'm like, maybe it's not my field, but you can talk to X, Y, and D. And so I will say again, be confident, make these connections for yourself, and know that you have a lot to contribute. Jonny, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Right. First, you said it perfect.
Yeah. So what she said, there's a saying in Hebrew. It says, "Don't be an avi belavi." So it's like, don't be a
translate that,
right? When you get here, the root of the word Yisrael is to wrestle. There's a struggle in here. That's part of the course. If you don't struggle and wrestle with something, probably you wouldn't learn anything here afterwards. You won't be capable of something afterwards. Part of what we go through here, the innovation, the struggle with military, issues, causes people to have an urgency, a desperation to change things, to innovate, to get up and do something different. So number one is you're going to have to take a risk. That might be doing something that you're not used to, going into a market, doing a profession that or even lacking that you can do what you can do, and then not being able to do it until you've, learned it on the spot. But get up and do something that's taking a risk. And at the same time, I would say there should be half of you, if you came in here from another country like I did. I came in here, I never made a TV show in my life, and I started helping people in the entrepreneurial world. And somebody said to me, why didn't you make a TV show about these people? And I thought my cousin was mad. I now have a Hollywood studio, and we make films and TV shows, and they broadcast all over the world, thank God. And they really put people on the map in many different countries. We generated over $500 million for the Israeli economy just from one TV series. There was about robots and flying cars and 3D holographic surgery. We showed the cool stuff, and they forgot about the politics. So I'm not trying to talk about myself. All I'm trying to say is come in with your outside international brain, and there's so much that this country needs and doesn't get, and doesn't utilize and doesn't leverage and export, that a lot of you people have in your brains and in your culture, in your upbringing and in your knowledge. And you need to work out what it is that I can bring and challenge and do. And I found something which I never would have thought that I'd doing. So I'm sure you all have so much to bring. The international, the Western brain that you bring in is so needed here that we are not networking and communicating with the rest of the world as best as we could. because we're lacking that. So you guys have gold dust. You need to remember that. Find your gold dust and start spreading it.
Beautiful. So we're about out of time. I just want to give some rapid fire with your thoughts, opinions, what you want to tell the room at large and the people listening, Olim and Israelis. What do you want to say to them about this, about just life here? What do you want to tell them?
So, as Jonny said, and sure as well, living here is not the easiest thing in the world to do. But when my grandparents were in Morocco, they weren't considered Moroccan. When my grandparents on my father's side were in Poland, they weren't considered Polish. They were considered Jews. And so in every society that we've been in, we've done fairly well, and we've risen, not only survived, but we've thrived. And yet we weren't necessarily considered part and parcel of that society, much to history's demise. So now that we finally have this opportunity to build something in our own name and promote society that we create, we need to take that with both arms. And yes, there might be better opportunities in the United States and in Europe. Probably take maybe a 20% pay cut by working here, especially as a salaried employee. But this is ours. This is what we're doing together. It's going to start this way, and nothing worth having comes easy. So if you don't like something in this country and you find it difficult, in the bureaucracy, etc., the people especially, you find it unhabitable. You don't run away from something like that. You change it, you fix it. And the issue is not getting Olim in this country. Benefesh knows this. The issue is making Olim stay in this country. So how do we do that? We give each other opportunities. We don't all have our families here. We all have the people in this room together. So don't just come up to us after this talk and try to get our contact information. Go to one another. Say outward, I'm A, B, C. I'm looking for X, Y, Z. Help me. Let's do it together. That's the only way we can progress forward and make it a place where not only we come to, but we stay.
Jonny, thanks. Very top round. Can you do it in 30 seconds or less? Can you? I can time you.
And so, it's what we've all been saying. You guys already jumped when you on. That was probably the biggest risk that you took. So one thing that most people don't realize is that failure is just a step on the way to success. Most people think, oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, it's scary. I'm going to fail. I don't know it. I'm like, no, just freaking try it. You're going to learn so much by trying it. If you fall over and you get back up, you'll be so much stronger the second when you get back up. So whatever it is that you're thinking about, oh, I'm not sure, I might try this, just go and do it. Go back tonight, look up on the internet, do something and say, I'm going to put another thing on my list. I wasn't sure about, I'm just going to freaking do it. Because the only way it's going to get done is if you get up off that seat and do it. So failure is not a scary thing. It's just a step on the way to success.
This ties so much. I was just maybe the one advice I would give, or one thing that I've been thinking about and connects to what I said before. I think everyone knows there's something special where they shine. So I started my career like hands-on. I was a developer. And I realized I was okay with that. I would give myself 7 out of 10, I don't know. But I realized that every time we had an integration or we had to speak to someone, whether it was product or another company, some, developers would rather shoot themselves in the leg. And I was like, me, I would go speak to them. And at some point, I realized this is what I do the best. And then I went to get an master's in business and not in computer science and shifted my career. So I think everyone needs to be honest with themselves. And even though we talked about, the industry is moving a certain direction, you want to be there, but you can be there at your own capacity. Just think where you shine or what you do best and what you can bring to the table and the values that others cannot. And after you identify that, I think it would be much easier for you to find your way in your career in whatever space you would want to. There are like different roles and different positions, and also in tech that are not, sitting in front of a computer and coding. And also a lot of interesting areas that you're not tech, but I'm saying first identify where you're strong at, where you're confident at, bring that to the table, and people will notice. Natural. So a bit fun. Guys, thank you so much for speaking about this. I've gotten AI or his head cursed. This was Shiri and Langley. Thank you so much for coming here, for building up our society in the ways that you can. Really appreciate it.